Hi everyone, my name is Khaled with KINETIQ, and today I'm going to talk to you about another very common problem that we see when working with data leaders, and that is they find themselves in a situation where their data engineering team is acting as a break fix team, right? And they're not able to add as much business value as they want because they are maintaining brittle pipelines and changes in data source. And I'm going to walk you through how we've partnered with folks to solve that problem and to build and allow their teams to build much more robust data engineering and infrastructure for their organization. So one of the most common issues we see is that it doesn't really start big. It starts something very small, but these things accumulate until the team really can't focus on as much of the value that they want to deliver as they could. And so you'll see things like, a source system changes a field name, something upstream changes, and that'll break multiple pipelines downstream, and your team is spending time on those. Separately, if a schema is updated and that wasn't communicated, now you have problems with your data warehousing and other solutions that are downstream of that information. Basically, your team will find out and the business users find out when a dashboard goes blank or someone puts in a ticket, as opposed to having sort of proactive analytics on that. And the fix takes half a day, but there's already another issue waiting by the time they get through that one. At some point, you realize, and a lot of teams realize, that it's not a one-time problem anymore, it's just the job. And so we've worked with folks who've been frustrated where their team is spending energy and effort where they don't want to be. They have high value, smart people who are doing these sorts of tasks that they don't really want to be focused on. And so I want to walk you through what it's costing a lot of organizations today and how we fixed it in the past, partnering with their data leadership. So what is break fix costing organizations today? Well, number one, your analytics backlog doesn't really move. Every sprint is consumed by, firefighting and break fix before it actually kicks off. Number two, every time there's a change or a request for a new data source, it sits for a while because people don't necessarily have capacity. And so expanding the breadth of your analytics footprint takes a lot longer than teams want it to. Projects for ML forecasting and other modeling stay on the shelf because it's too much risk to prioritize and commit to them given everything else you have going on. And so the team ends up being reactive by default, not because anyone's underperforming, but just because of the architecture that they're dealing with. So we work with organizations where they are paying senior engineering salaries to do maintenance work, and it isn't a benefit for the organization nor the folks who are doing the work. So what we work with people to do is to change their architecture and to work with a unified platform where that architecture can absorb change as opposed to the team's capacity absorbing that change. What that looks like is when schemas change, upstream changes don't necessarily cascade into broken pipelines. Your system can actually evolve and adapt. Number two, failures can be caught and isolated before they reach the downstream consumers. You are able to, number three, onboard new data sources faster, and your architecture can absorb the change as opposed to resisting it, where you have to re-architect or redesign things. Of course, your backlog that we mentioned just a moment ago starts to actually move, and you can focus on delivering incremental additional value, not just repairing issues. And of course, you can now take on that strategic work that you've been backlogging, including forecasting, ML, and other analytics projects that can now be realistic for your team to have capacity for. So how we do this is we work with a lot of folks who are in these situations where today they're maintaining brittle ETL pipelines that are holding everything together. And the data engineering team spends a lot of their week just making sure things don't fall apart. And we work with them to re-architect on the right platforms so that their pipelines handle changes without breaking. And the team can actually focus a lot of their energy on new capabilities instead of fixing the old ones. So if this sounds familiar and your team is dealing with this sort of issue, you should definitely get in contact with everyone at KINETIQ. And the way we do this is we map out what your current architecture looks like. We identify where the common sources of breakage are and where you're most exposed. And we actually define a path forward with you so that you have a blueprint to take away and execute. So there's a link in the description and of course the QR code here where you can learn a little more and our team will walk you through what this looks like.